here's Brody Brazil.
I do feel like on this channel we talk a lot about things that Major League Baseball is going through, either a situation they've put themselves in or something that's happened, and usually it doesn't have necessarily a positive vibe to it. So with that said, I do want to evaluate Major League Baseball over the last, let's say, dozen years. There are significant things they've done right. There's also some things I feel like they're not doing the right way. So that's what this video is about. Basically 10 things that baseball got right and wrong over the recent years. And Rob Manfred there, he's probably only just itching his forehead. But yeah, it's kind of the perfect feeling for some of these certain scenarios. So let's begin with the extra inning courtesy runners. That's right, putting a runner on second base to start every half inning after 9 innings in regular season games. This started with the 2020 season, the pandemic. Do you think I like this? I actually still do. Now, I never said you were going to agree with all of my thoughts and opinions on right and wrong. I'm just saying I have these thoughts and opinions on right and wrong. Look, nobody needs a 14th inning in the middle of July, right? These are for regular season games only. And you think about the baseball schedule, 162 and travel and who's staying up. Like if it's West Coast or if you're on the East Coast watching a West Coast game at like 2:30 in the morning, nobody needs a bottom of the 14th. They really don't. And this new rule, relatively new rule, it puts that runner on second. It usually ends baseball games in the 10th or 11th innings. It rarely even ever gets to a 12th inning anymore. But again, nobody needs a 14th inning in July. It's instant intensity. Runner on second, runner in scoring position, nobody out. You bunt somebody over, you hit a sac fly, you get a run. Now you've put the pressure on the other team. It invokes strategy. I realize it's not authentic. It's kind of like 3-on-3 overtime in the NHL. It is a little bit gimmicky. I understand that, but you need some form of gimmickry. You need some form of this to actually get the game to come to a conclusion. If you just keep playing and you're tied at 3 after 9, it could go to 14 or 15 innings. Trust me, I've been there. I've seen that over the years. It's just kind of a relief that with like pace of play, that you don't have to worry about a 3-hour and 59-minute game in the middle of the season that went extra innings because they couldn't decide it. The stats, though, I will say, out of all this, probably shouldn't count the same. I'm against ERA for a pitcher when a runner was just placed magically on second base. Should you really get an RBI or a run scored? If you think about the genuine nature of stats and the authenticity of stats, it's hard to count everything the same when you just put a runner on second. But overall, I think baseball made the right decision on that. How about National League designated hitters? That's right, kids. Remember when pitchers used to hit in the National League? Of course you do. That was only a couple years ago, but pretty soon that'll be long forgotten that pitchers actually hit in the National League. I think it's a bad thing to take away pitchers hitting in the National League. I don't like the DH in the National League, I'll be honest. Why even have American and National League teams anymore? There was basically one main thing separating the AL and the NL. Designated hitter in the American League, pitchers hitting in the National League. Why even have 2 leagues anymore? Why not make it an Eastern and a Western conference and that's that? Like baseball is all the same thing. American and National League, what's the difference anymore? Pitchers hitting or not hitting, right? Like struggling to hit. There was fun strategy with this, right? You'd have to think about who's coming up next inning. Do you want to take your pitcher out? It was intended to produce, I think, more runs, more offense by having DHs in there. It also gives a lot of position players the opportunity to have a half day to rest. Like you're only hitting today, so you're the DH. If you're our star right fielder, you don't have to worry about playing defensively today or tomorrow. You get a couple days and games of DHing. But I mean, it takes away the fun and the strategy. And honestly, watching some pitchers be really bad at hitting and that changing the dynamics of a baseball game. 2 on, nobody out, 2 runners in scoring position, and it's your pitcher up there. What's your pitcher going to do? Can your pitcher lay down a bunt? Can they hit one to the outfield and at least drive in a run with a sac fly? Or are they just going to look at 3 strikes and go sit back down in the dugout? So I think it takes away from the game, especially in the National League, and it just overall that there's no more pitchers hitting. Banning the defensive shift like they did a couple years ago. I am totally in favor of that decision, how it went, and honestly what we've seen since then. The defensive shift, right? Basically, like sometimes having 2 second basemen or 3 second basemen, like if your first baseman and shortstop are all on the right side of the infield, or how about putting your second baseman in short right field sometimes? All of this stuff was legal to position your defensive players literally wherever you want, but it felt against the spirit of the rules. Like the second baseman should be on the right side of second base. The shortstop should be on the left side of second base. You should only have 3 outfielders, not 4 outfielders, or you should only have 4 infielders like third, short, second, first, not bring in an outfielder. Anyway, felt against the spirit of the rules. It always produced overthinking, like, should we have shifted there? Should we not be shifting here? What if that shift did happen or didn't happen? And honestly, in the end, they've banned the shift. Have you seen the game change that much? It honestly has not changed. And so that's a good thing, that you've got rid of something ugly and maybe overthought out anyway, overblown in the first place, and the game ultimately didn't change. And you know what? It was also hard to watch on TV and keep tabs. Because you can't see with the pitcher and batter, the center field view, you can't see necessarily where the defense is playing. So you didn't know batter to batter, like, well, how are they playing this hitter? And what if this hitter goes to right field? Is there somebody there? Is the outfield shaded like totally off to left field? Or you understand my point. Hard to see the defense on television. So banning the shift, baseball got that right. How about the replay challenge for managers? Now, this is about 10 years old, I want to say, a little bit more than 10 years old. I think 2014 might have been the first season. I think baseball overall got this right. Now, it's not perfect, but I think they got it right. If we have this technology and if fans can see everything in super slow motion from 10 different angles at home, why not use it? Why not help have that dictate the outcome, the result of what actually happens in the game? The only criticism I have is that some reviews feel like they take forever. There should probably be a time limit on that. I get it that goes against getting it right, is if, you know, the replay room in New York feels pressured and feels like they've got to get this out ASAP. I understand that goes against getting it right, but like if it takes 4 minutes to review something that happened in 0.4 seconds, it kind of goes against the moment of baseball and really dulls down the moment where it's not exciting and it totally changes the pace of play. Initially, there was also no reasons given on what happened, right? They would say, the umpire would come out and say, you're out. Well, what did replay show us? Like, how did you come to that? Now, in recent years, they put the microphone on usually the home plate umpire or the crew chief, and they push the button just like a football referee does. You know, after review, we found that this and this, here's what's going to happen. I love the fact that there's an explanation given. At first, again, it was bad because it was like, wait, how did they decide that? Now at least there's an explanation. And the challenges have always been limited. You can't do this 100 times a game. Doesn't slow it down. So I think baseball got that right. Okay, this year for 2025, you've got 2 Major League Baseball teams playing in minor league baseball stadiums. You already know that baseball got this one wrong. And it's apples and oranges a little bit. There's 2 different situations, but imagine this in the NFL. Let's say the San Francisco 49ers. And I say playing in a college stadium, that's not accurate because it's not just any college stadium. It's not like college, I should say this, college stadiums are very much like the size and the magnitude of an NFL stadium sometimes. Maybe not with luxury boxes, but the size alone. But let's just say this for an example. The 49ers play in Santa Clara at Levi Stadium. It's a little more than 10 years old. It's got all the amenities, bells and whistles, and it's getting upgraded. But imagine if this year the 49ers started playing their games at little old San Jose State down the road. Spartan Stadium has never had a huge capacity, has basically no great amenities, and they have upgraded it. They've upgraded it, but they've also downsized it in recent years. What is the capacity now of Spartan Stadium? Is it like 12, 14,000? What if the 49ers said, you know what, we're going to play our games at Spartan Stadium next year? That's what this is like for the A's and Rays. The NFL would never do this. They would always find a better option and a solution, and baseball could have done that here too in both cases. We also don't yet know all the likely issues that are going to crop up. You can talk about it and say, well, they'll be fine, and we're upgrading things, we're putting money into this. Yeah, but did we not learn anything from the Arizona Coyotes. Remember, they were supposed to play in the brand new college facility of ASU, Mullet Arena in Tempe, and things would be fine for a couple years until they, figured out what's next. Well, the A's and Rays are going into these temporary homes and seasons with nothing, absolutely nothing, entirely figured out. Now, you can tell me that the A's have their plans in Las Vegas. Okay, well, I guess we'll see. In the next 30 days or 50 days when there should be groundbreaking? I haven't heard much about that yet. But if there is, then maybe the A's are out of contention of question, and maybe the Rays are still up in the air. Tropicana Field still has no roof, still has no money promised to fix the $56 million at least problem of that roof. The new stadium deal, who knows where that stands? There is a deadline on March 31st. Are the Rays in or out? Because the county and city are both in. The point being here is we don't even know all the likely issues of these minor league stadiums, and there's no end game, end date of when they could be departing these situations. One was by choice. The A's decided to go to Sacramento. They could have kept playing in Oakland. They could have paid the $19 million a year of their lease. They could have done that. This was by choice that they wanted to go the free and easier route for them. But also in Tampa, it's a little bit by need. Like they would have been playing just fine at Tropicana Field, but the new stadium thing would have still been a thing, and there would have been all this question about their future, no matter what, roof or not at Tropicana Field. But both of these situations preventable by baseball, in my opinion. At some point, baseball could just say, hey, you know what? We will loan you $56 million, City of St. Petersburg. We'll loan it to you. You pay us back in 3 years, and we'll take care of this situation, put the Rays back at the Trop starting in 2026. I don't see them doing that. Again, did we learn nothing from the Arizona Coyotes? It's a bad look for baseball to have two teams now for what's going to be multiple years, probably playing in minor league stadiums. How about the great uniform fiasco of 2024? Ooh. Now, this is good in a sense that they have it resolved. They've got a plan. It's already underway, and here in 2025, at least all of the road jerseys, the gray ones, are going to be fixed. The home ones will be altered, but the letters are back big on the back. They're working on the right fabric. But Fanatics took all the blame for this, right? In reality, the reason I'm saying this is why baseball got it wrong, Fanatics took all the blame. It was actually Nike who, going into the 2024 season, came up with that unnecessary brand new design. Nobody was complaining about the old majestic look and the brand new Nike logo on it. I'm giving baseball the wrong on this because they approved it all. It's one thing if Fanatics makes it, that's all they do. Nike designed it. It was their idea. It was their implementation. They should be blamed. But baseball was like, oh yeah, we know our players. They'll be fine with that. And they were absolutely not. And fans were not okay with it either. My point is that baseball should bear most of the responsibility here. They should have been the oldest sibling in the room to say, you know what, appreciate the idea, can do this, can't do this, we have to protect our players and our fans. They didn't do it. They got this wrong. And it's crazy that the thing that everybody wants most out of all this is going back to the 2023 jersey template, which is exactly what they're doing. It's bad for baseball when players and fans are like, hey, don't even improve this. Just go back to doing what you were doing. We loved that. We loved the old version. How about the pitch timer and modifications since then? Again, you may not agree with this. Baseball never had a clock. It does now. And I was nervous about this one at first. Would this totally change the game? Would it speed it up too much? It was strenuously tested in minor league baseball for a couple years. But I think the overall thing that it obviously fixed, not just the pace of the game, the excitement level of it, but in 1984, games were averaging 2.5 hours. That's doable. On most days and nights, you can sit there and watch 2 hours and 35 minutes. By 2021, the time of a baseball game had shot up to 3 hours and 10 minutes. That's an extra 40 minutes on average per game. And so now back in 2024, we were at 2 hours and 26 minutes per game. They totally fixed the problem. And I say problem, let me put it to you this way. I know some people say, and a lot of ball players say, we never wanted a clock. We're the only game in sport that doesn't have that. We like our pace. Don't bother our pace. But you know what? You have to be marketable. You have to have fans want to watch all of your games or as much of them as they can. What's the optimal length of a movie? Even the best movie you've ever seen. Did you want it to go 3 hours and 10 minutes? Maybe. But every movie that you watch, even the bad ones, like the bad games that sometimes are, did you want them to go 3 hours and 10 minutes? Probably not. I think we need to be fair about that one. How about the breakup with the ESPN partnership? And I don't know that baseball had much control over this or if it was ESPN backing out, but I feel like baseball got this wrong. They didn't maintain the deal. They didn't keep it successful. ESPN had the option to get out. Baseball said it was a mutual agreement. Certainly doesn't seem like that. Baseball is going to lose $550 million a year unless they totally replace this deal with another national rights holder. Rob Manfred said that ESPN didn't highlight Major League Baseball enough, and I agree with that. But I think it's more about the reason why ESPN didn't do that rather than the actuality of them not doing that. You got to get to the root issue here. Why wasn't ESPN platforming you like football and basketball? Maybe your product is lacking something. You got to be honest with yourself here. Baseball's already touting new possible partners, but again, unless they reach the 550 mark, millions of dollars per year on their new deal for the rights that they'll give up, then it's a loss. It's money and it's image, both lost for Major League Baseball. How about the introduction? This is the most recent one of the automated balls and strikes system. I think it's going to go great. Again, we've already seen bits and pieces in spring training, and you see the batter will do this, or the catcher will do this, or the pitcher, that's the signal. Hey, start the Hawkeye system. This has been tested in AAA for the last 2 years. It's being tested and demonstrated here in spring training 2025. You only get 2 challenges. You do get to keep them if you win, but if you lose them, they go away. It's instant gratification, right? We're not sitting there waiting for Hawkeye to render and then give us a result. It's like watching tennis. Boom, you see, was it in or was it out? You get the official confirmation, and we know we can live with the call as either confirmed or overturned. This is strategy, in my opinion, added to the game. Like when do you use your challenges? Who uses them? Like, you're not going to use it on a 1-1 count, but a strike 3 or a ball 4, you're definitely going to use it. And it can't come from the dugout. It has to come from only the pitcher, the batter, or the catcher. This is technology added to the game. I mean, we've had the ability to do this. Why not use that technology? And in my opinion, it's also a little bit of excitement added to the game as well, too. Sticking with the World Baseball Classic Tournament. Now, this isn't necessarily a spot that baseball was in, but I give them a lot of credit for continuing to put this tournament on, even though, like, you go back to 2006, it didn't exactly hit like it just recently did in 2023. Everybody was talking about it and raving about it in 2023. The fact that baseball didn't just let this fade off into darkness, I think was a great thing. Baseball continues to obviously grow internationally. I mean, look at Japan. They've won the most World Baseball Classics, not the good old United States of America. So baseball is obviously finding a lot of success in a lot of places internationally. There's never going to be an optimal time for this. You can't do it mid-season. You definitely can't do it at the end of the season. There really is only one time and place for this to happen. It is preseason, pre-spring training. Managers are not going to like the fact that pitchers are throwing innings. I don't think they care about the position players as much, but there's always going to be some question about injuries and concerns. And look, every league has this. With an NHL like Four Nations tournament, and a bunch of players got hurt in that. Then they go back to their teams and they can't play. It's never going to be perfect. I appreciate baseball for continuing to be behind this. And you know what? They're coming off 2023, which attention-wise and scope-wise was their best yet. It already brings a lot of hype for the 2026 World Baseball Classic next year. So, Rob Manfred, whether you're itching your forehead or whether you're actually having a moment at that press conference, it looks like in spring training there in Florida. You haven't got everything right. You have got some things right. I think some of the wrongs are just so glaring. It's like you're that close to being that much more perfect about what you do. Maybe that's the frustration factor. Like, there could easily be several more rights than wrongs in what I just pointed out here. And it's easy for a lot of us to see. And they stumbled over some things to get them wrong when they could have easily have been the right way to handle it. That's the end of this video. Thumbs up down below. Really appreciate that. Helps me, this video, and this channel. And one more thing while you're down there, make sure you're subscribing to this channel. That way I can definitely see you back here next time.